Hello, good morning, everybody. It seems from the chat that most of the people, it is morning, although I'm not sure in Scotland if it's still actually morning. I think it might have crossed into afternoon for you as well over in Scotland. But my name is Savannah Norem, and I'm hoping to answer the question of what's a trend today? So to start off, I wanted to ask what you all think. This is my first time using Menti, so we'll see how it goes. But you can either, if you're on a computer and you want to use your phone, you can scan that QR code, or you can just go to that website and enter that code. And you should see the question of just what do you think a trend is, or what do you think that word means? And while you guys are doing that, I have a little bit of information about me, but I'm going to make sure you guys have time to get that code. And I'm going to actually take a picture of it because just in case, that way I can put it in the chat for you guys. That code is menti.com, and that code is 58674787. Those codes actually change. So like if I give this presentation again, it'll have to be a different code. So there it is. And it's on this screen again. So while you guys are answering what you think a trend is, I figured I would tell you just a little bit about myself. I have a bachelor's and master's in computer science. I was a data analyst in New York for a little while. Then I did research and data analytics at a national lab in Tennessee. And currently I'm a developer advocate. And what that means is that my day-to-day job is doing things like this and helping people learn to code and helping people write code and showing people sort of how to use tools that help them write code. Menti is a website that like sort of lets you guys participate a little bit. Hopefully, if it's working as I expect it to, we might have some answers in here, and we do. So I can show you guys some of the things that you all have said a trend could be. Something popular for a short period of time, a pattern showing a change over time, what's the hot topic, a start to something that is continued. All of those are great answers. And if you guys could, it would be cool if you only answered the questions as they pop up throughout this presentation. But if you answer them ahead of time, you can answer them again, so it'll be okay. So yeah, lots of sort of different things here. Shared common behavior, data that shows a pattern. Lots of great answers there. Thank you, guys. So when I say trend in data science, what I'm talking about is how one piece of data relates to another. And we'll sort of talk about a little bit more of what that means from a bigger perspective, but data just means something we know. So you guys probably all know how tall you are. You probably know how old you are. Do you think you'll be taller next year? And, you know, for a lot of us, that answer is yes or no. I'm 27. I don't think I'm going to be any taller next year. But if you guys are in the K through 8 range, you might be taller next year. And also for the Menti, that code will pop back up every time I have a question. And then also you can totally just put stuff in the chat too. That's okay too. The Menti just means that I can see it later so that I can go back and look at it later. But the chat's a great way to talk to. So someone said, yes, you do think you'll be taller next year. I don't think I'm going to be any taller next year. So do you think your parents will be taller next year? And all of these questions sort of play into when we're thinking about a trend and how one piece of data relates to another. Maybe for a long time, your height and how much you're growing relates to your age, and then it stops. So it doesn't have to be necessarily about you or about next year. I know I eat more hot soup when it's cold outside. Do you eat more hot soup when it's hot outside? No? Oh man. All right. Well, I definitely eat a lot more hot soup when it's cold outside, because when it's hot outside, like it is today, I'm in Georgia in the US in the southeast, and it's not quite as hot as Texas, but it's still pretty hot here, and I don't want any hot soup. That would be too hot for me. So, but maybe when it's hot out, I eat more ice cream. I think that's a really fun treat to sort of cool down. It's sweet. I love sweet treats. I love ice cream when it's hot outside. So maybe not everybody does. Maybe not everybody even likes ice cream. But we're going to talk a little bit about ice cream and weather. So there's these two graphs, and the only thing that matters is that these lines sort of look the same. This top one is how much ice cream we're selling, and this bottom one is how hot it is. And then here we have the months. So it just goes from January to December. And we can see that the more ice cream we're selling, you know, as this gets higher and higher, the temperature also gets higher and higher. You know, these peaks are in the same places. You know, it's just nice to see that these two things, when one goes up, so is the other one. And if we put those together, instead of talking about them in terms of the months, if we just look at how our monthly sales of ice cream relate to the temperature, we see that they go up together. So does buying more ice cream make the weather get hot? Maybe. Maybe. So the important thing to note is that just because two things are related does not mean that one of them has to cause the other one to happen. You know, we all know that buying ice cream doesn't make it hot outside. Just because we're buying more ice cream doesn't mean that's the reason it's getting hot outside. We're probably eating more ice cream because it's hot outside. And yeah, some of the people in the comments are saying correlation versus causation. So that's what this note is that just because those two things are related doesn't mean that there's anything that necessarily causes one of them to make the other one go up. So a few other things that, you know, are a little more relevant to what you guys sort of said as what's a trend. We're still thinking about how one piece of data relates to another, though. So I know at least 5 people that I know have bought something pink to wear to the Barbie movie. So does that mean, could we say that pink is more popular since the Barbie movie came out? Maybe, but we would have to look at bigger picture data to be able to say that for sure. But I know for me, anecdotally, and that just means, you know, my own very limited perspective, is that I've seen more people buying pink things because Barbie's coming out. And the other side of that is, do you think more action figures get sold right after a superhero movie comes out? So, you know, all of these things are still how one piece of data is relating to another. We're looking at, you know, pink or action figures in relation to when these movies are coming out that might make those things more popular for a little while. Yeah, most likely. I don't know for sure. I could be wrong, but it seems like probably. So why does it matter? Well, if we owned an ice cream shop, how could we use what we know about ice cream and weather? You know, maybe you guys think that there are certain things that we should do differently if we own ice cream and it's going to be hot next month. Maybe we should act differently if we own an ice cream store and it's going to be cold this month. So some of these, finding a correlation, acquiring more data. So now that we've sort of seen that when it gets hotter outside, we sell more ice cream, maybe what we're going to do is try and predict the future a little bit. Sort of right now, we're trying to make a guess about what's going to happen next based on what's already happened. So we're using what we know to make a guess about what's going to happen next. I don't think the broadcast froze. But yeah, offering seasonal warm beverages during winter. Oops, sorry. So if we know it's going to be hotter next month, maybe we should make more ice cream than we did this month. If we know it's going to be colder next month, maybe we should make less ice cream than we did this month. And that's, you guys are saying some things, you know, revolutionize it. That's also cool. But during hot weather, we should sell more and maybe go outside to sell ice cream in a truck. During colder weathers, we don't need to buy as much stock. All of those things are great. We correlate the data and use it to show a trend. However, we cannot say it's a causation. Absolutely. It's smart to have more ice cream available when it's hot out. So yeah, all of those things are cool ideas. You know, we want to make sure that we have ice cream enough to sell. So switching gears a little bit to something else that's going to make some predictions. What are some of your favorite things on Netflix right now, or Hulu or Disney or wherever you watch TV? And you can just throw these in the chat. This is just partially because I want more TV show recommendations, and also so that I can know what's popular with you guys right now. I would love it if you threw in the chat some of your favorite things that you're watching right now. But while you're doing that, one of the things I want you to think about is, what are some of the things that your favorite shows have in common? So me, I really like magic in my TV shows. And that's fine. If you don't like TV, maybe like movies too. Either one works. So like, I really like magic in my shows, in my movies, in my books, all of those things. I like magic. I also really like romance. I love love. I love a happily ever after. I love seeing two people fall in love. I think that's so much fun. So if you want to go to Menti, it's that same code, same website, QR code and everything. If you can think of some of the things that your favorite things to watch or to read or to play, like what are some of the things they have in common? So like I would put magic and romance, or magic and love. Either one's totally cool. Because what Netflix is going to do is it knows what you've been watching a lot of. Netflix knows that I watch a lot of shows that have magic in them. Netflix also knows what you quit out of. Netflix knows that if I turn on a TV show that I don't like, I quit out of it pretty quickly. I don't keep watching it. So Netflix knows what I like and what I don't like. And we can see some of the things that you guys put in there were adventure, drama, romance, superheroes, action-filled. And you can see it changing as you guys put in more answers. So what we could do if we really wanted to sort of analyze this is we could do some stuff where we said, okay, well, there's magic and fantasy are probably pretty closely related. So we could maybe combine those two answers. And then we get into, you know, the difference between action-filled and adventure, and do those mean different things to Netflix? But all of this stuff is data about what you watch and what you enjoy. So Netflix uses all of that and then tries to figure out what you like and what you don't like. So if you've been watching Harry Potter and Criminal Minds, Netflix is going to try and find what those two things have in common and try and figure out what it is that you like and also what you don't like. And then try to recommend another show that you'll like. So maybe I've been watching a lot of stuff with magic and romance. And so Netflix shows me another show that has magic and romance and maybe like a lot of explosions. Explosions aren't really my thing. I don't love big explosions. So Netflix recommends something to me that has magic and romance and explosions. And I'm like, nope, thank you, but no thank you. So then Netflix can be like, oh man, what was wrong with this show? Oh, it's the explosions. And so Netflix can use all of the stuff that they know about me to figure out what it is that I like and what I don't like. So Netflix takes what types of things I spend a lot of time watching, what types of things I don't watch, and uses those trends to guess what show I might want to watch next. Some other cool data science trends that impact your day-to-day life are weather. When we're thinking about the weather, we're not just saying like, oh, well, it's sunny outside today, so I think it's going to be sunny outside tomorrow. There's a lot of other information that goes into that. We use global weather patterns. We use weather from across, the US, especially if you're in the US at least. We use stuff like the atmosphere, pressure, and all of this information to try and say, well, we know that when the weather does these types of things, we'll make a prediction about what tomorrow's weather will be like. With medicine, 500 years ago, there wasn't a lot of different treatments for medicine. But now we say like, hey, if you have these 3 different symptoms, you probably would get better by having this type of medicine. And if you have different symptoms, maybe that's a different type of medicine. And we use all of that data to make these predictions about what's probably going to make you feel better. Also, traffic. Big cities can look at where you're going to school, when you're going there, what roads they need to make better, what lights they need to make better. And they can use all of that information and say like, okay, well, this road only has 2 lanes. And if we make it 3 lanes wide, we think that all of this will get better and the traffic will go away and everyone will have a more fun time driving. So what do I hope you learned? The conclusion is a data science trend is talking about the way 2 things we know relate to each other. When we use the word trend and trending and trendy, we often mean like how popular something is over time. And those are 2 pieces of data. We can talk about your height and your age and how those things relate to each other. Just because 2 things are related doesn't mean one causes the other. I hope you learned that one. Correlation versus causation is a really important concept in data science and in the way that you watch the news and the way that you live your life. Just remember that just because 2 things go hand in hand doesn't necessarily mean one caused the other. We can use these trends to make predictions about the future. Netflix uses it to predict what shows you're going to like. We use it to predict weather all the time. All of those things are using trends and using past information to predict the future. Netflix uses trends to guess what show you might like next. And then I've got the resources I used. I used these graphs, and then I did use a little bit of ChatGPT to help me out a few times. Other than that, that's the end of my time. So thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you have a better idea of what's a trend. If you'd like to go re-answer that very first question on Menti, should have thought of this one first, but if you want to go and re-answer what you think a trend is and say like, now you think it means this, or now your understanding is this, that would be really great. It would help me out. But thank you all so much for joining me and for all of your participation. You guys had great answers. Thanks so much.